I would now like to invite on stage the guest of honor for today, architect Navnath Kanade sir, to share a few words with the audience.
Thanks for inviting me and honoring me with such a prestigious welcome. Um, there are a lot of students here, so I thought we should talk about more about education. So, how the education began, where it started, and for that I got one story which I read somewhere. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you story of a person, story of the people, where the really school started, where the learning started. The story goes like this. There was one village, around the village, there are a farming community, they to do hard day's work, and at the end of work, towards the evening, in uh, nearby there was one huge banyan tree, and there was a platform. So people in the evening used to come there, gather there, and just exchange their ideas over there. So this was routine going on for months and months. And suddenly one day what happens? A stranger comes and sits on the platform under the banyan tree. So all those people came there as usual, and suddenly they find a stranger. So everybody said, and he was in meditative state, in the sense he was doing some kind of meditation, very upright, folded legs, and so somewhere he was in his own world. Then villagers came and they quietly, they didn't talk anything, and they wanted, just looked at him and let's not disturb him. And again they went back. Next day again they came, and they saw the person was not doing meditation this time. He was quite okay to talk. He exchanged his glance, and they smiled at each other. And then villagers were curious, so they started to ask the questions to the stranger about his personal thing. And during that exchange of things, and they found that as you ask more and more questions, you are answering them so beautifully. The person, they asked more difficult questions, he answered them still brilliantly. And so all the villagers were very, very impressed, and they said, my God, what an intelligent person he is. But in the process, what happened, the person who answered the questions, he did not know he was a teacher. And people who asked the question, they did not know they were students. And that's where exactly the spirit of school started. So what is happening in education today? Today we have been designated. You put the teacher on the platform, so you know that he's teacher, and teacher knows they are students, you see. The problem is the gap is created, When the gap is created, then, a teacher becomes a holy man, which is not true. So what we have to change the teaching methodology possibly, What you have to do possibly is that teaching is letting students know that they know it. So what do you mean by teaching is letting the students know that they know it? If they know it, then why do you need teacher? The question is that. But teacher is needed because he lets him know that he knows. In the sense, in him, everything he knows. The student knows everything, you see. But some of the areas are lying dormant within him, you see. They are at sleep. So teacher has to go and awaken those areas. And suddenly he becomes, oh my God, I know it, you see. So what is the job of teacher? Job of teacher is not to teach, but lead the students towards the solution in students' way, not teacher's way. Don't impose your ideas on students, but try to explore the possibility and strength of the students. That's what the job of teacher is. So how do we do it? I mean, the thing is, how do we do it? So I'll give one example, Whole idea is to tell you that students know everything, you see. And teacher should assume that student knows. Once I remember I given one problem. There was just a walkway from the compound gate to the veranda of the house. And there was a narrow pathway about 2 meter wide and longer one. The student, we gave the material, which was brick as a material to pave it. So students started working on it, and many students did, different kinds of solutions. But only thing which was there that you have to indicate the grooves of the bricks. So you indicate the grooves of bricks. Some students showed the longitudinal, some of them showed the horizontal. And so I think how can you say he's right and he's wrong? It's not possible. So only thing what came in mind, I asked him, suppose there's one person who's very tall, skinny, and he feels himself a little awkward that he's very tall and very skinny, but he wanted to, stitch a dress. And he gets the cloth, which is one-way stripe. And if he's doing that, tell me, this skinny fellow, will he put the stripes vertical or will he put it horizontal? The similar thing, like answer came brilliantly. All the students said, no, it has to be horizontal. I said, why should it be horizontal? They said he's very tall, skinny, and therefore he will look a little less tall if you put all the stripes horizontal. I said, you're perfectly right. To look at your walkway is long, narrow, and long. So if you put the joint as a stripe, will you put longitudinal or horizontal? And students suddenly realize, so in other words, teacher's responsibility is lead them to solution. So solution is, of course, you should put it horizontal. But I don't know if you agree or not, but it should be horizontal because it's a longitudinal thing. So they knew the answer, but to get that answer out of the students, he had to give some examples. After giving the example, suddenly he realized, yes, I knew it, And that kind of realization should be method of teaching. You teach the students, awaken them, and make them aware that they know it. So let's not impose your idea, teacher's idea on the student. That's not a good idea, actually. So there's another way of doing it. For example, if you talk something about teaching or anything you do the creative work, two, three things happen that one should assume that man is greater than his work. And therefore, whatever he does is always less. That realization is very important. Therefore, something less is not shortcomings. It's a reality. So what happens sometimes, students get very inspired. They get an idea, they say, yes, I can do it, And as soon as they go on drawing board, pencil gets lazy, and or the testing paper and drawing board refuses to accept any sketches on it because students are scared. That was the inspiration I got. But when I'm drawing now, it's becoming less. The less scares him, which is true. Less should scare you. But this is the way life is. You cannot have same inspiration exactly 100% reflect on your work. And therefore, I think what Avinash was talking about, measurable, immeasurable at the end, it should be immeasurable, correct? Immeasurable, measurable at the end it should be immeasurable. Let me explain what it is, you see. As I told you, when the idea or inspiration, when you start, it's always immeasurable. Because whatever the idea you have got, as you put on the drawing board, it becomes less. Let's assume that. That's always there. But if you want to build as an architect, that less you have to accept. And that's the only way you can do it. That's the only way you can build the buildings, you see. So it becomes immeasurable, your idea. That's first impulse, it's immeasurable. But if you go through the process, it becomes measurable. Then something you are measurable, something quantified, something you know it what it is, at the end it should become immeasurable. How it's possible? It's not possible, isn't it? You build it, you got an idea. The idea was impulses, which is very powerful, which cannot be measured. But when you reduce to the building, it becomes measurable, everything is quantified. But at the end, the success of the building is your first impulse and the end result, both should be immeasurable. That's where the success of the building lies. how it is possible. So it is possible, though building is quantified and you found out exactly what it is. You can say how many bricks have gone there, what is the volume, you know all the dimensions and everything, it's fine. But ultimately you experience the building at the end. So classic example is falling water. Falling water is a building. As an impulse, as a Frank Lloyd Wright, I can imagine it must be some immeasurable thing. When he builds it, it becomes measurable. But you go and experience that building, it's immeasurable. Why is it immeasurable? It is because when I visit second time, you again realize, oh my God, how come I didn't see these things last time? Again you go third time, and there's always missing, and building challenges you. You said, come next time. And I'll show you some of the things which you have not seen at all. You come 100 times, I will still tell you that you have not seen the thing. So that's how the building becomes immeasurable. Starts with the immeasurable thing, goes through measurable, at the end it should become immeasurable. And that's the beauty of architecture. You know, architecture at the end, it should become immeasurable. You got the point what I'm trying to tell you. I mean, that's the whole whole idea of, what the architecture should be, devotion. Yeah? No, nothing. Okay. So to start for the measurable, immeasurable, this thing, that's fine, But ultimately, in your practice, what do you do? In the practice, ultimately, you try to understand when, as is told, the first impulse, it means you think that you have to understand what the spirit of the building is. What is spirit of building? Again, it's become something immeasurable. So to give the simple example, I talk about spoon. What is spirit of the spoon? Spirit of the spoon is bowl and handle. Without bowl, without handle, there cannot be a spoon. But is it a particular spoon? Particular spoon becomes measurable. But idea of spoon as a bowl and handle is immeasurable because there are millions of possibilities can design the spoon. But these two things cannot be eliminated. Without bowl, without handle, there cannot be spoon. It's not possible. So in the building, I think you have to understand what that building wants to be. Spoon, what spoon wants to be and how the spoon become. What is the spirit of spoon? You knew it. But you should also know what the building wants to be. So I think the success of the building is two things should synchronized. What building wants to be and what architect wants to do. As long as they are not synchronized, there cannot be success of building. Now, we talk about the beautiful buildings, and beauty is really facial beauty. Is it really facade? Is something, see from outskirts, or is the beauty, there's something called inner beauty. So when you look at the Gandhi, for example, Mahatma Gandhi, if you ask the question, you say, I'm a stupid person, is the Gandhi a good-looking person? If I ask this question, it becomes very difficult to answer, Is the Gandhi a beautiful-looking person? But when I look at the Gandhi, what do I see? His face is not important. His character, his moral values, it's the way he lived the life, the honesty, that reflects, and that's a beautiful thing. There are innate values of the Gandhi. That becomes very, very, very powerful. And the Gandhi, by definition, is a beautiful person, he's a great person. It's just not because he has a beautiful face. I'm not saying his face is bad, sorry. But just I wanted to compare that, you see. So innate beauty, so in the building also, something called, there's a character for the building. The character should reflect. If the character reflects, that becomes beautiful because there's some honesty in it. So how to make the buildings beautiful? First, you have to somehow inject the character in the building. As long as you don't inject the character in the building, your building cannot be successful. It's not possible. So what is a character? The way Khan says that, you should be very honest with everything you use it. You use the brick. Brick also says, if the brick and architect have got dialogue, they talk to each other, what brick is going to tell to architect? Hey, architect, destiny of my life lies in your hand. Give me right place. It's pleading you. Then it becomes responsibility to the architect to give it right place. So it's not only brick, there are so many materials that are pleading you and telling you to give me right place. So brick also has got its place in the wall. It needs to be very proud to be wall. And there's one story which I, of course, inspired by Khan, but I made up my own story that all the bricks came together and it became wall. And once it became wall, it was designed by Khan. Khan realized that, in that wall I want an opening. He comes because Khan is very, very kind person to bricks. Bricks are very kind to Khan. So both of them, there's this dialogue. He said, sorry, I built this wall. I realize I need an opening. And the bricks get very angry and they say, how can you design the whole wall and ask the opening afterwards? And there's really a lot of tension among these two persons. One side the brick wall and the other side Khan. And then all the bricks said, oh, Khan is such a nice person. Your request should be, somehow we should make sure that we should give some kind of opening. And they said, okay, Khan, we'll give you opening, come tomorrow. He comes in the van, he puts one lintel piece in the, lintel of the brick. He makes the opening, there's lintel on top. No? So he brings the lintel and he says, yes, I can insert the lintel there and below that some of the bricks can be removed and therefore the opening can become. And the bricks get very angry. This is our community of bricks. We live so happily among ourselves. Now intruding into our community, bringing some kind of foreign elements here, and you are asking them to accommodate. You're not happy that we are, enjoying our life here? And they said, what can I do? Please give me opening. He said, Khan, wait for some time. Come next day. We'll think about it. So there's some intelligent bricks, they get together and they decide, oh, Khan is a nice person, anyway, we have to give the brick. Now, lintel is not a solution, so we should give the brick. So all the bricks come together and said, what are the ways of making the opening? The brick, then they started, intelligent bricks, they come together and they said, hey, I'll come a little forward. You go a little forward. So that's how the corbelling system comes about, He said, we shall give the opening. Let's not ask the Khan to give the opening. And then they come up with the solution of this corbelling system. They come up with the solution of arch. Arch is given the opening by the brick, by the wall itself, isn't it? It's not coming from outside. So brick ultimately, wall says that I will give you opening, don't impose the opening on me. So this is kind of dialogue you should have with your, whatever architecture you do, whatever the materials you deal with. I think you should try to understand the life of the material itself. So please get into spirit of the materials. Try to understand what that material wants, respect it, and then use the material accordingly and make your building successful. That's the only thing I can tell you what you should do in architecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for those encouraging words.